Hey guys, I'm Evan. Welcome to Country View Acres. So our plan this year is to build an equipment shed in this location right behind me. Probably end up starting to build it probably in the springtime. But I've already got a couple loads of fill material here that I want to use to start leveling out this build site. Now this isn't going to be enough to do the whole thing, but I think we can get a pretty good start. So it's really hard to tell exactly how level this ground is and how far it drops off by the eye. You have to have either a transit level or laser level. And I've got a laser level here. And here's going to be the southwest corner of the building. And this is my high spot right here. So I'm going to use this corner of the building as my reference point. And I'm just going to try to level everything off from this point. And everywhere else is lower, so there's no removing any dirt. We're just going to be adding and building everything up. Now this southeast corner, it drops off about 5 inches here over the course of about 24 feet. And then this corner right here, it's quite a bit. Doesn't even register. There we go. We are about 14 inches low on this end over about 60 feet. So this corner is the biggest drop, 14 inches. The other corner over there is like an 8-inch drop. So I know it's going to take quite a bit of fill dirt to get this all leveled. I'm hoping that these two piles here, I can at least get the first like third or half of the building done today. We'll just have to see how far it goes. All right, both of the dirt piles are gone now. I've got them spread out best I can over this area, probably a little bit more than a third of the total footprint. So the next thing I want to do is I want to get all of this fill dirt, I want to get it compacted. And I think the best way to do that is in this big area is just to grab the excavator. It's the heaviest piece of equipment I have. I think it weighs roughly like 11,500 pounds. And that's like twice as heavy as my big tractor. So I think if I just go over it with the tracks back and forth a few times, that should get everything packed nice and tight, and then I can go back over it with the laser level and we can check for high spots and low spots and see where we need to adjust. Well, I think that compacted this down probably a good 2 inches. It made a big difference. So let me check it with the level. We'll just see how close we are. I'm about 2 inches high on this corner. That's better than being low. That's dead nuts. I'm gonna turn this beeper off. We are 1 inch high in this corner, 1 inch low. Hey, I'm low right here. So overall, this ain't too bad. Most of it is 1 to 2 inches high. We do have a couple low spots. Right here is a low spot. Right over there is a low spot, about 1 inch low in each one of those spots. So I think if we can knock down some of the high spots, fill in some of the low spots, if we can just kind of even this out, I think we can have it within less than 2 inches of level for the entire grade right here. And considering I've never done this before, I think that's going to be acceptable, at least for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my grading bucket. It's got a smooth tooth. This is a little over 4 feet wide, so you can do kind of a wide area. And then this is a tilt bucket. So the way this works is actually has hydraulic cylinders on it. And this, you can pivot this back and forth to match the grade or the terrain. And I've actually had this since I think around July. I bought it right after I bought the excavator, and I ended up haven't been able to use it. I haven't had a job for it yet. So now will be the first real job for it. But I got this from Mongo Attachments. So it's made over in Indiana. And the reason I bought this was probably from Kyle over at Spicer Designs. He had a video where he compared a couple different tilt buckets. And after watching his video, I thought that the Mongo brand was the one to go with. So this will be my first time using this bucket. So I think you really have to have a lot of finesse, which I don't probably have with an excavator. So it may take me a little bit of a learning curve, but I'm going to do my best to try to level this or even this all out. Just trying to take off like 2 inches in that corner. Right there's about right. A little high right there. Pretty close. A little bit more. All right, I'm all less than 1 inch from level. So the other night my battery ran out, plus it got dark on me, but I was able to get all this area like leveled out, plus or minus 1 inch, except maybe just on this edge over here. And I think that's good enough for what we're building. So the next thing I want to do is I want to take the compactor and I want to try to go over this and just try to flatten it out, get rid of these track marks, see if we can compact it a little bit more. But I don't know if it's going to work or not. It's like 18 degrees this morning. The ground has somewhat frozen a little bit, so I don't know if this compactor is actually going to do much, but I'm going to give it a shot. Oh, let's change the choke, I guess. Well, the ground's definitely frozen. That compactor really didn't do anything. You can hardly tell a difference. So I did probably like the first third of this, but when you look at it, you can still see all the tracks from the excavator. Yeah, it didn't really make any difference whatsoever. So I'm not going to be able to finish building this area up till spring when we can get dump trucks in here. Our road is posted, 10,000 pound limit, 5 tons. And Yeah, I'm going to need probably at least 5 more dump truck loads to get this build site leveled out. And as I was compacting this, I started thinking, it's like, this probably doesn't make much sense to compact it because it's going to be 3 months down the road. We're going to go through a ton of freeze-thaw cycles, and it's just going to loosen this all kind of back up. So probably the best thing to do is just get as level like I did. And then in the spring, we can come back and we can try to compact this and get it a little bit better. But I think we're just wasting our time trying to put, we don't want to put too much effort into it now since it's like 3 months down the road. Probably only been out here like 15-20 minutes and my hands are already freezing. So I need to go ahead, I need to feed the cattle, do the chores real quick, and then I think we're gonna head inside the shop, spend the rest of the day in there. Well, much to my surprise, ended up getting our first eggs. Actually, there's 3 of them. There's another one in my pocket. First eggs we found in probably like a month and a half. They just haven't been laying. So they're probably frozen though. I didn't really check yesterday. And this barn does stay warmer, but it's still just below freezing. So they're probably frozen eggs, but they'll probably still scramble up just fine. All right, let's look up here at the to-do list and set grade for new shop. I really can't do anything else till spring, so I'm just gonna go ahead and wipe this off. That was really just intended for those 2 dirt piles. The next thing I wanna work on is to start fabricating these feed troughs for the sheep. So I've already got everything designed out in a computer for the CNC plasma table. So basically, I just need to get a piece of sheet metal on there and I can just start cutting out these pieces for the feed trough. But before I do that, I've got another little project I want to work on, and it's the next one down on the list, and that is to hook up an air dryer. So this right here, this is the air dryer that I'm talking about. I ordered this back in like October from Harbor Freight, and it's a special order item. It came in right before Christmas, and today I'm gonna finally hook it up. So what this is gonna do, I have really wet air in my air compressor. And I've tried desiccant dryers, I've tried little filter dryers, and when you unhook the hose, you can see like an air mist come out, and it's just very wet air coming out of my compressor. And what this is it's basically like a dehumidifier for an air compressor. So having dry air will help me on a couple things that I do. One is spray painting. Any moisture in there would mix with the paint. It's not ideal. You wouldn't get the best result. The other thing would be the plasma cutter. Any moisture in there will start eating up the tips, and then your cut quality goes away, and then you have to change your tips quite frequently. So running a CNC plasma table, I definitely want the cutting tip to last the entire cutting cycle. And I want my cut to stay consistent as well. So here on the top, we've got 2 1/2-inch pipe connections. This is the inlet, this is the outlet. I bought a bunch of pipe fittings the other day. I'm gonna go ahead and get them all threaded together and see if we can get this hooked up. perfect. So now I just need to take the air coming out of the air compressor and I need to bring it down to the inlet and then out of the outlet back up here to the regulator assembly. And then the extension cord is not long enough to reach an outlet. I'm going to have to mount a new outlet here on the wall next to it here eventually, but right now I'll just run an extension cord. All right, I got the air dryer all plumbed up to the compressor. I use several unions in this and it makes it easier to come apart. So as we look at the manifold I built, you can see I put a bypass valve in here between the inlet and the outlet. So if I want to use the air dryer, I can just turn this on, I can close this valve and the air has to go through the air dryer and you get dry air. If you don't want to use it, I can turn this off and then I can open up this valve and then the air will bypass the air dryer straight to the tools. And I put unions at the bottom of the manifold, that way I could break both of these loose and I could take the whole thing free easily. I put another union on the incoming air line. And I also put a union on the outlet going to the regulator and then out to the tools. And the reason being is if I have any troubles with this, I can pop the incoming air off and then I can take that union and I can hook it up directly right here and I can bypass the whole thing. The air will go exactly the way it used to be, straight from the compressor to here. So this just gives me a lot of flexibility. I can bypass the air dryer quickly if I need to, and I can completely disconnect it and hook it up the old way really quickly as well. All right, I'll get the air compressor plugged back in. We'll check for leaks. All right, just got some soapy water. I got a leak down here, I can hear it. Oh my goodness, I got a few leaks. All right, I got the big leak fixed on the union, but we're still leaking around this ball valve. This side over here looks good. Now to try to fix this leak here, I'd have to take this whole manifold off. So I'm just gonna leave this for now. When I'm not using it, I can just shut the air valve off from the compressor and I won't have to worry about it leaking. All right, we got it plugged in. Guess we'll just kick it on. There it goes. I can hear the motor running. This was 14 gauge. This one is 11 gauge. All right, there is the start of a feed trough. All these little slots, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see them, but all these little slots are to help me bend it in the brake because this is 11 gauge. It's thicker than that brake can handle. But as long as these slots are in there, I should be able to do it. I probably should have went ahead and changed my nozzle before we started. Well, without my glasses, it actually don't look bad. So now that I've got them side by side, I can definitely tell this one's starting to wear out. So I'll just go ahead and put new consumables in there. When I cut out the grill guard for the tractor, it had all those little hexagons in it. The nozzle actually went bad before it was done finished cutting it out. And that was the reason why I wanted to get an air dryer, is because I wanted to make sure I could complete a set of cuts without the nozzle failing. And now that I've got the air dryer, it should last quite a bit longer. All right, I set a new 0. I'm gonna go ahead and cut out the next one. There's all that's left out of that piece of sheet metal right there. I think I maximized the use of that piece. All right, I've got one more thing I want to cut out on the plasma cutter, and that is some little like angle gauges so that I can make sure I'm bending the feed trough correctly. So I'm gonna be bending them at like a 45, or what would really be like a 135 degree angle. And I just want something to be able to fit in there and make sure that I bent it right. So I'm just gonna make a couple up real quick. All right, so you can see it right here. Here's my 135 degree angle. I did kind of notch out the corner, so it didn't really matter what my bend radius was. As long as it sits against these two flats, I'll know I have it the right angle. And then I made myself a little one too for smaller projects. And we might actually need it for this one. All right, I think we're done at the plasma table. Go ahead and turn the dryer off, throw the bypass, turn the air off from the tank. So now I need to clean up all the pieces that came out of the plasma cutter, and I really need my welding table back. So I need to take this feed trough that we fabricated. I need to get it put on some dollies so that it's ready to go in the paint booth. Of course, I can't move this around on my own, so I'll probably get everything out of the way and just use the mini skid. Well, it looks like Rebecca just got home. She had to work an extra day this week, so that equals not a good week for her. Now open that door, I think it Drop 10 degrees in here. Plus my gloves are wet. They're very cold. All right, I got them all cleaned up, all the dross off of them from the plasma cutter. And hopefully you can see all the slots in there. There's 4 rows of slots, and I need to bend each one of these 45 degrees to form the trough. So we'll use the Max bending brake. So with these slots in here, I can see right down to the line where it bends. I can make sure this is all lined up. I got my stop set. That should be close to 45 degrees, we'll see. There, hit my stop. I always feel like I should go a lot farther. I moved this die so there's a gap in between them. See if I can get this down in there. Well, you can see we got light up here. It's not quite right yet. I guess another way to check is I could just set it down here on the bed and then shine a light behind it, and you can see we got a pretty good gap. So I'll just adjust this stop back another 1/8 of an inch maybe. Oh, I got a feeling I'm gonna need more than that. Oh, I'm getting pretty close, actually. I think right there is going to do it. You can barely see a little bit of light. That looks pretty good. There we go. That is our sheep feed trough. At least that's the shape of it. The more I do, the more I'll get the hang of it. All right, we've got all 3 feed troughs cut out. So now the next step will be to cut out square tubing to like make the legs, and we'll brace it a little bit to make it a little bit stronger and get it all welded together, but that'll be another day, not today. So I think the little templates that we made, I think this worked out good. Had to use the little one most of the time. And the Max brake, it's working out really nicely. I got a lot of plans for this, a lot of little projects coming up. And now that I know where 45 degrees roughly is, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna scribe this, where to set that. I've already scribed, you might be able to see it. I've already scribed where 90 degrees was. I'll scribe 45 degrees, and then that's gonna make setting this up a little bit quicker, a little bit more repeatable maybe. And I did order some steel earlier this week. They called me, it's ready to pick up, so I'm gonna pick it up tomorrow. But I'm getting a few more sheets of the 14 gauge, which this will bend perfectly fine. The 14 gauge. That 11 gauge, they thought they were selling me 12 gauge, but they sold me 11 gauge, which is basically almost exactly 1/8 of an inch thick. And that is too thick for this to be able to bend. That's why we had to cut the slots in it. But still, even though cutting the slots in it, it still has the capability of bending some thicker stuff that it's not supposed to. So definitely makes it so you can build like a feed trough that's sturdy enough that a cow can stand in it and not tear it up when you're using like 1/8 inch thick metal like that. All right, I'll go back to the to-do list here, and we can go ahead and cut off or knock off or erase off the air dryer. It's hooked up. This is in progress. And then like the paint the cattle trough, I'll probably wait and try to paint several things at the same time. Like the fence line hay feeder, for example, maybe I'll wait till I get that all welded together, or maybe the sheep troughs, but I think it's a lot easier when you have several projects that I can cycle through the paint booth. And then if I can set up everything where it's on rollers like this, then I can paint it, and then hopefully, maybe I have to do some modifications here, but I can paint it and then maybe roll it out of the booth, and then I can roll in the next project and paint it. At least that's what I'm hoping to be able to do. But I think that's gonna wrap up today's video, guys. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.